today I have something a bit different for you guys. I'm taking a bit of a break from my physics engine just so that I have a little bit more mental energy. I'll get back to it eventually, but today I'd like to introduce you to my new little project called the WWE Watcher for Peacock. And what it is very simple. If you have a Peacock account, it will let you automatically play all of like the WWE library in chronological order. Because right now, you can watch by show, but you can't watch everything in chronological order. You have to like show jump, and it's obnoxious. Now, somebody did create a spreadsheet, and I'll be dropping a link with his name in the chat, not in the chat, in the description. And he was kind enough to go through and actually gather all the info, put it into an Excel sheet, and put that up on the internet in chronological order. So what my application does is it just reads through that data and it'll let you watch everything in order. So to start, let's clone this repo. So we're going to copy, and then I've already got a directory I'm going to clone it into. Eventually, I would like to make it so that you don't need to be technically minded to be able to use this, but we'll see how that goes. So it is cloning. Cool. So now that it's cloned, let's actually go to here, and I'm just going to open with code. Okay. So something we're going to need to do is we're going to need to set up our virtual environment. So let's get a terminal running. And we're just going to do Python mvenv.venv. If you have a different way of doing a virtual environment, go for it. This is just how I do it. And if you don't know what a virtual environment is, I think I drop a link to it somewhere in my README or in the description. But in any case, so we have that started. Now let's go to, there we go, and let's run scripts and activate. And so we're going to run that. So we've got our virtual environment set up. Now what we're going to do is we're going to run pip install R for requirements, and we're going to type learn to spell JC, requirements.text. And assuming I spelled that right, it'll automatically install all the dependencies that you need. I'm not 100% sure that all the dependencies are necessary, but that'll have to be something that I clean up over time. And I know that there's like scripts you can run to get rid of those dependencies. While this is loading, oh, there we go. And I'm just going to ignore this for now. I know I need to upgrade pip. It's okay. Okay, so cool. So we've got that going. The next thing that we want to do is we actually want to get Chrome driver. So this needs Chrome driver to run. So you can go to here. I'm going to leave a link in the description. It has instructions on how to tell which version you need to download. And when you download it, you need to put it somewhere that's available to your path. If you don't know what that means, then the easiest way to do it is to just put it in the same directory as your program. And so Anyway, so we got that there. There's one last thing we need, and that is our profile path for Chrome. So if you just run Chrome, run this without a profile, a Chrome profile, it won't. It probably won't work. It doesn't work for me. Something about Peacock doesn't like the fact that I'm not assigning a specific profile. You can think of a profile as kind of like the wrapper almost that you use around your user profile within Chrome. And so I will be dropping a link in the description on how to find your Chrome profile as well. And in case it's not obvious, you need to be running Google Chrome for this. Eventually, it would be cool to support other browsers. I'm just working with the bare basics here. So what I can do though is I have a file called savespot.json, and this can hold a little bit of information. The first thing it can hold is the current episode. And this is like one or two numbers off from like the row number that you would see in the Excel sheet if you open that. You don't need to open the Excel sheet. This file here will track which episode you're on, or you don't need to edit the Excel sheet. You can open it and see which episodes you want to start with. And I also have a list of blacklisted classes. A blacklisted class is referring to a show class, a class of show. So like, let's say that I just wanted to watch ECW, WCW, and Raw, and I didn't want to watch Superstars. Or in this case, Hidden Gems and Smack 'em Whack 'em. I can just add it to this blacklisted class, to this list of blacklisted classes, and if it comes across them, it will just skip to the next one. And then what I'm going to do right here is I'm going to actually add in my profile path, and and that should just work, and this will tell the program where my Chrome profile is. So now that we have that all set up, we can actually get started with the program. It's worth mentioning that you can actually pass the profile path in as an argument. So, main, we're going to run Python. So, and then we're going to tell Python to run main.py. And if we wanted to, we could pass in C:/ blah, 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 blah. And that will set the profile for us. You only have to do it once, and it'll appear here, or you can just manually type it in here. Notice the double slashes here are important. You don't want the double slashes here. You would just do C:/ users / JC. So you don't need the double slash. But since we already have that in there, we're just going to run it. And if you run just Python main.py and you don't pass a profile path in and you don't have this here, you will probably encounter issues where you can't log in. It'll tell you that it doesn't recognize the name or password, which is weird, but whatever. So let's run it, and assuming I did everything right, we should be opening up to an episode of ECW. So far, so good. And I'm going to pause it so that I don't get copyright striked. But you can see that I have the episode open. What the program is doing is it is monitoring this URL. So if the URL changes, it will go to the next episode. So you'll see here, it's saying, oh, we're going to go to June 15th. We're on June 8th. We're going to go to June 15th, the next episode of ECW. But you'll notice that when we actually go, and I'm just going to click it so that it doesn't take so long, it redirects us to Superstars, which is June 12th. And I'm just going to watch from start because I can. And again, paused it so that I don't get copyright striked. But okay, so it'll automatically go in chronological order. That's awesome. And then the final thing is that, remember those blacklisted classes that I mentioned? So you're able to add to those. Right now, the way I do it is you type localhost and go to that URL. And Superstars is no longer on the watch list. So if we close this, you can see that Superstars is right here. So it won't ever appear again, which is really nice if you don't want to watch Superstars, or if there's some other type of show you don't want to watch, like the Smack 'em Whack 'em is really dumb, or whatever it is. Hidden Gems is, I imagine, it's pretty good, but I want to watch just, things as they aired in chronological order. So yeah, that's that. I think that is just about everything. So remember, you're going to need to download a Chrome driver. You're going to need to find your Chrome profile. The Git repo does have the Excel sheet in it, but if you want to go to the original sheet and download it as an Excel file yourself, go for it. Just remember, it needs to be an Excel file right now. And you need to keep the name the same for now. Eventually, I'd like to be able to pass in arguments to set your episode and stuff like that, but we're just keeping it simple. So for now, that's all I have for everybody, and thank you so much for your time, and I hope you all have a wonderful day. I forgot, I need to show you how the code actually works. So let's just get started. We're going to dive right into main.py. I admit I was kind of lazy with how I did it, but it works, and I can always refactor it back into like a more proper program later. But the code starts down here. Right here we have the profile path. It's receiving that first argument. So again, when you're running it from the command prompt, you can pass in that argument and it'll just add it in. And so we're going to go to run series, which is here. And run series is pretty simple. So showrunner.setup up here, it just loads in all the data. That's what its job is. And then after it loads in all the data, it opens the browser. And that's it. And then after that, so if you watch more than 4 episodes in a row, it'll actually stop just because reasons. If you want to change that, go for it. It's just, I figure 4 episodes in a row, you may be just watching, you may have gone away by that point. But so basically we have a while loop. We run showrunner.run episode, and that will return a value that tells us whether or not we want to continue continue to watch episodes or to stop. So if we go up to run episode, so what I use is I use a library called pandas, and I use that to load data from Excel into memory, and then I read that data using pandas as well. And so I look up the class of the current show that we're running. If that class is in the list of blacklisted shows, Then we're just going to increase our show index and continue. And then if we run into multiple in a row for some reason, it'll just continue until we finally find one that isn't blacklisted, and it'll break. Try not to blacklist everything, because I can't promise what will happen if you do that. Destination URL, so same thing. Instead of grabbing the class, it's grabbing the link. There are cases where the link is missing, which is what I'm accounting for here, but don't be surprised if that breaks as well. And so yeah, now we actually get the party started. So we basically build a driver. The driver is the actual like program thread manipulating the browser, like the process manipulating the browser. That's the driver. And so we're grabbing that driver, and then we're telling it, hey, go to this page. And then we pass in the driver and the destination URL. So nav is an alias, I believe. Yep, it's an alias for my web navigator class. And so we can actually go to there probably now. So if we go there, we have a few lines of code. And I left some of this commented stuff in here just because it was useful for my thought process. It might be worth looking at. But the real key here is it opens the browser using the profile path. It returns the original webdriver.chrome, which is what gets assigned to driver in the other file. Then we have go to page. Again, we're passing in the driver, and we're passing the new URL, just checking if they're none. This is Python. It'll just return false. And otherwise, it'll get the new URL and return true. I should probably be incorporating some kind of try, catch, exception stuff, but it'll be okay. And then, going back to here real quick, back to the main. And then we have what's called a Chrome result. Again, from that nav class, we're waiting for the URL to change. Technically, some of these conditions should never happen, but just in case, I accounted for them. But basically, this uses the built-in WebDriver waiting system that comes with Selenium. So the program itself that's managing Chrome driver is called Selenium. It is it's usually used for front-end test automation, but it can also just be used for simple front-end automation without testing. It's often used for web scraping and stuff like that. So you can create a WebDriver wait instance, and then you can tell it, hey, wait until this condition, the URL has changed. And if it doesn't change after, 20,000 seconds, it'll ask, what were you watching that you had the video on for so long? But basically it's just saying, hey, don't wait forever. There has to be a termination time. So URL has changed. It's basically just watching that the current page's URL. Unfortunately, I couldn't get it to track active changes. You have to actually press enter and go to an address for it to register, which is why I used localhost instead of just erasing everything. But So what it does is it waits until the URL has changed. It'll assign a value to the result, and that will be either the new URL. It'll be false. So basically, if as long as it returns false, it'll keep waiting. And then if something goes wrong and it causes some kind of exception, it'll just return true, saying, "Hey, the URL is different now." But the main thing is, like, this wait will not return a value to result until it gets something other than false. And then you can return result. We go back to here. If the window closed, or if there was some kind of exception, it will end the program. And if it's not an exception, and if the window is still open and they returned an actual URL, we will increase the index by 1. And then if we changed our address to localhost, it will add that show we were watching to the list of blacklisted show classes. And then we'll return true, which says, hey, like, we're going to run again. And then we just repeat that loop over and over until we either close the program or something along those lines. And then at the very end, we will save our current index. We will save our list of blacklisted classes. And if we have a profile path, we will save that as well. And then, we'll just do a JSON dump. And that's it. That's the program. So, sorry this went on a little longer. Sorry I kind of rambled for a bit. But thank you all for joining me, and have a wonderful day for real this time.